Game week 26 went pretty well for me. I've scored 102 points and I'm up to 13k overall. And here is my game week 27 team selection. It's only right to start off the video by quickly taking a look at how my team got on in game week 26. The main talking point, I guess, the first thing I wanted to talk about was Glasner. Now, I know I've gotten a bit lucky with my assistant manager picks this season. If you didn't know, I went David Moyes in 25, Emery in 26. Oh, sorry. David Moyes in 24, Emery in 25, and obviously Glasner in 26. Got my game weeks mixed up. You know what I meant. The three of them have really paid off. And I always felt, you know, yes, I know there's been an element of luck there, right? I should probably count my lucky stars that all three of them paid off. But I always felt with this assistant manager, it had the potential to be the most powerful chip in the game if you used it to chase the table bonus in opportunities where it could come about. And yeah, I'm just glad that I stuck to my guns or stuck to what I said on my videos with how I used it, because I'll admit there are at times where I say to do something in my videos and then come the deadline I bottle it and do something else. So yeah, I'm really pleased I've done that. It's cost me 3 transfers, but ultimately those 3 assistant managers I've had, I think they've scored me 56 points in total, which has completely changed my season and is pretty much, you know, the reason I'm in 13k overall. Rest of my team, obviously Sales conceded 4 goals to Newcastle. Hall with 2 assists despite conceding the goals that he did. A 1-pointer for Robinson, but you know, the 1-pointer gave me the 20 points for Glasner, so I'll kind of take that one really. Trent with a clean sheet obviously against Man City. Semenyo and Palmer both with 2 points is what it is really. The Bournemouth game was a real one-off, right? That red card just changed the game totally. I do think they might be disrupted a bit defensively while Zabarny serves his suspension. But from an attacking perspective, I think they'll be back to their normal ways in the next fixture. So I'm not too worried about that. You could get worried about Cole Palmer's continual blanks in the Premier League. And then you realise he's got Southampton and Leicester in his next 2. And then you're a bit less worried. So yes, the blanks are annoying. So many people own him though, so it's inconsequential really if he blanks or not. But yeah, the quality of fixtures he's got coming up, I'm definitely not going to get rid of him. Salah, it just feels like the baseline of points for Salah at the moment is a goal and an assist, right? He's just unbelievably good. Captain obviously against Man City, done me really well. And Mbumo with a goal and assist himself against Leicester. And another blank for Rodgers. I'm considering, especially the fact that he blanks in game week 29. I am considering doing something about him in coming game weeks. Obviously a brace for Isak, an assist for Chris Wood, who just keeps on scoring points. So I'm very happy with Chris Wood and just in general, obviously very happy with this team. I said I'm very happy with this team. I'm probably more happy with how it performed in game week 26 than how it lines up for 27. There's so many game weeks I'm getting confused. Forgive me. I've got a bit of a tough call in my defence this week, I think, particularly my defence. So there are 2 players that I'm very happy to start. Right, I'm very happy to start Trent against Newcastle. I'm very happy to start Robinson against Wolves. I've got Sales, who I think I'm probably going to have to keep, particularly considering he's got Ipswich in blank game week 29. And, you know, would it be outrageous to suggest that Forest could keep a clean sheet against Man City at home? And also, Arsenal are pretty toothless in attack at the moment. So Forest keeping a clean sheet against Arsenal isn't the most outrageous prediction. Got Aina on my bench as well. Aina in my team as well with that same thought process. Going double Forest defence against Arsenal at home does feel a little bit risky, but I do think it's better than the alternative of playing Greaves or Lewis Hall. So if I don't do anything, this is how my defence looks. But I got to say, there is a level of temptation to bring in a Bournemouth defender. This is a little extract from what I showed on my buy and avoid video that I made on Saturday evening. I'm not going to buy Kepa, I don't think. I just don't want to change my keeper again. I had too much of a goalkeeper merry-go-round earlier on in the season. I don't want to go through that again. But I could potentially take out Lewis Hall, who has Liverpool away this week. Does have West Ham away, which is a good fixture. But then he blanks in 29. And ultimately, I need to get rid of him before 29. So I could take him out for either Kirkez or Howson and then start one of them over Aina, which, you know, on the face of it makes sense. But Bournemouth are without Zabarnyi, who I genuinely think is an unbelievable defender and has really formed, as we know, a really solid partnership with Howson. They'll lose him to suspension. And I'll go back to what I was saying about Forest v Arsenal. You know, with Arsenal being quite toothless in attack at the moment, Nwaneri potentially being injured as well. He limped off when he got subbed at the weekend against West Ham. Is it, you know, are the Bournemouth clean sheet odds with a man down in defence against Brighton away all that different to Nottingham Forest against Arsenal? I don't think so. So for that reason, I'm probably going to save my transfer and I'm going to go double Forest defence against Arsenal, which feels a little bit uncomfortable, but I just don't think it's worth the transfer. On to my midfield then, and you're gonna need to use your imagination a little bit here. I've had a small problem with the graphics while I was making this video, and I haven't had time to change them just with the urgency to get this video out in the time that I actually have available tomorrow. So Gakpo, you can see there on the bench, replacing with Rodgers. Rodgers is on my bench currently, and you can kind of guess who's starting in his place, right? My logic for that, we'll get onto the forwards in a second. My logic for that is Gakpo got minutes off the bench against Man City. It's a quick turnaround to that Newcastle game. With the form that Gakpo was in pre his injury, I just think he gets a start against Newcastle, and I prefer him to the ever blanking Rodgers. So for that reason, I'll probably start Gakpo. But there's a little bit of a narrative here to talk about. So if we get news that Gakpo isn't going to start against Newcastle, and I have to play Rodgers, I may move him onto a Bournemouth midfielder, someone like Kluivert. That's another scenario. But anyway, the four midfielders that are probably going to start for me: Semenyo with Brighton away, who I think he's got a good chance of scoring against. Obviously, Bournemouth going back to their normal attack, hopefully not getting another red card which ruins their team. I'm not worried about that. And then they got Tottenham and Brentford after. Really good fixtures for Bournemouth, as we know. Southampton for Palmer. Newcastle for Salah. There's a tough captaincy decision to make between those. So you can see there the predicted points. Palmer actually edges it this week, so we'll talk about captaincy towards the end. And then Mbumo against Everton. So yeah, that's my midfield. A bit of connotation there, I guess. That's not the right word. You know what I mean? Bit of discussion to be had, I guess, around Rodgers, what I do with him, and whether I start Gakpo, which we'll talk about in a second. All right, so yeah, up front, I'm going to go Isak, Wood, and Gakpo. Now, I think I need to have Game Week 29 in mind with this team as well. And it's working out the players that... So I'm basically, my tactic is I'm going to dead end my team into Game Week 29 and then press the wildcard button in Game Week 30. But the question... I guess the question I have to ask myself is, who are the players that I need to keep going into Game Week 29? Because there are some players here that I own that I've accumulated so much value in since they've been in my team that selling them would mean it's impossible for me to buy them back. I look at probably Isak and Salah as the two. If I sell Isak and buy him back, I lose $500,000. And if I do the same with Salah, I think I lose 0.9 million with just how much he's gone up in price since, well, I've had him since the start of the season. He started the season at 12.5 million. He's now 13.7. So my selling price is not going to be good. I'm going to get screwed there, basically. So I probably need to keep the two of them. So I need to ensure that I can get through Game Week 29 with just one player on my bench, if that makes sense. So selling, Rodgers, who's imaginary Rodgers, who's Gakpo on this bench. That's hopefully not too confusing for you. I'll probably do that come towards Game Week 29, but I think I could just stick with him on my bench, particularly if Gakpo is fit. The only issue is if Gakpo is, well, I could end up using one transfer, I suppose. If Gakpo is confirmed by Slot that he's not fit to play against Newcastle, then I might do Rodgers to Kluivert and start him instead of Gakpo. That's probably the Bournemouth midfielder that I'm going to pick. I've said consistently, despite what the expected points says for Kluivert or Dango or Semenyo, all three of the Bournemouth midfielders, I rank them Kluivert, Dango, Semenyo. Kluivert number one, so if that Rodgers scenario happens, I'll probably swap him. But for the time being, I'm going Semenyo, Palmer, Mbumo, Isak, Wood, Gakpo up front. I feel like this video has been a bit messy, me rambling and repeating myself, etc. So sorry if it's given away that vibe. I must say, I'm recording this quite late on Sunday evening because I've got a really busy day of traveling at work on Monday and I'm just not going to be able to get a video out. So I wanted to stay up and make a team selection video for you guys ahead of my deadline stream on Tuesday so you can see what I'm doing with my team. So forgive me if I've been a bit repetitive and rambly. The final decision to make was the captaincy, and I've gone for Salah. There's hardly I did a little transition between the screens there. There's hardly much of a change. I've just added the captaincy symbol. I'm going for Salah. It's very, I think, close between the two, but just, I do think Chelsea beat Southampton, but just comparing, I guess there's a reason why you captain Palmer and there's a reason why you'd sell captain Salah, right? The reason you captain Palmer is because you think the fixture is more important than the player's form. Whereas Salah, I personally think Salah's form at the moment is just by far and away better than Palmer's, that it outdoes the fact that he has a worse fixture. Does that make sense? I've probably used too many words to describe that. But yeah, I think I'm going to go for Salah as captain, basically. Although I will admit, it's really close between the two. And like I said, people that have sold Cole Palmer, I said this on my Ultimate Guide video that I've actually just made, but you'll see this a day after. People that have sold Palmer, you're looking at him facing Southampton and Leicester at home. And like I said, he's a genuine captaincy shout this week. You know, I don't think you can't berate anyone if they do decide to captain Palmer. Regardless of his form he's been in, you know, captaining any talismanic player against Southampton at home, you can't tell me that's a bad decision, I don't think. So yeah, I'm going Salah. Can totally see the reason to go for Palmer, and I would just absolutely go nowhere near selling Cole Palmer this week. He's a great option, and Hanley doesn't blank in Game Week 29 either. And if I was making transfers in the coming game weeks, I would want to the only kind of transfers I'd want to make is getting rid of players that blank in 29. That's really the only place I'd be going. All right, well, that's the end of another rambly transfer plans team selection video. I hope you enjoyed that and found it useful. You know, like I said, I'm recording this late on Sunday evening to squeeze it out on Monday. That was a dodgy way of saying it, wasn't it? I've done that because I know the rank's pretty good at the moment. I thought people might be interested to see what I'm doing with my team. So if you appreciate the late light shift for a video, I'd appreciate a like rating in return. It's completely free. Let me know in the comments if there's anything you'd really do with my team. You know, bringing in a Bournemouth defender is a potential move I could make. I do really feel like Gakpo is going to start against Newcastle now. So for that reason, I think he's worth starting in my team. I think that's everything. If you haven't already and want to see more content from me, I would really appreciate it if you could subscribe to the Goal and Goal channel. It should be just there on your screen. Yeah, that's it. Thank you very much for watching. I'll catch you in my next video.